Around a year ago, I got the chance to visit New York. It's always been a dream for me to visit such a city. And seeing all of the infrastructure, the skyscrapers, the culture, the city, it was so vibrant to me. Because I grew up in Vancouver, and Vancouver is far more different than New York. But, New York has quite a very tragic system when it comes to cars. The roads are always filled up, and as a result, like many tourists, in fact, even like many New Yorkers, I had to use the public transportation system. It was there when I saw some very concerning things. It was really concerning to the point where it was very bad, but it was concerning to the point where it is actually very important for us to know. I saw groups upon groups of people simply walking, minding their own business, staring straight into the front with earphones in their head, completely oblivious to the homelessness, to problems that plague New York City. These problems are so serious, yet they seem to be living in a bubble where they simply ignore these things. Seeing all the crazy things that happen in our world today, seeing all the crises that are happening, we tend to forget it. Seeing all of these things and we completely ignore these, it's been something that's been very important to me. Now, I asked this question: why don't we actually care about the world? To start off, I like to ask this question: how many of you know this person? This person is Alan Kurdi, a 3-year-old boy who washed up on Mediterranean shores in search of freedom from a country plagued with civil war. This is a 3-year-old boy who washed up on the shores. Politicians, public figures, global leaders, they were all infuriated by this. Yet, little change actually happened. We saw hashtag pray for Alan Kurdi, we saw all these different things, but no change ever happened. I would say in less than 2 months, we completely forgot about it. We forgot about his death. We think it was worth nothing. And fortunately, that's been a reality for cases just like these. I beg to ask the question, why don't we care? It's something that means a lot to me, and something that should mean a lot to you as well. So I came up with a few reasons, and I try to explore this question as best as I can. There's a thing called the stages of grief. The stages of grief is usually used when you're trying to describe grief when a family member passes away, or perhaps a family dog passes away. But I noticed a very similar pattern between grief and global issues. And I'd like to explain to you that pattern today. For example, today a poll from Gallup shows only 45% of Americans think global warming will pose a serious threat to our lifetime. We see denial after denial, and that has led to a continuous cycle of this, and I'd like to explain that cycle to you today. So, the cycles of grief. Now, the first stage is shock. We're going to use the example of climate change. When climate change was first announced, when statistics started popping up on mainstream media, everyone was shocked by it. How did all of our actions for the past 50, 100 years since the Industrial Revolution create such a mess that we have to deal with today? So many people were shocked. They did not believe in this at all because of the fact that this was something so new to them. And this led to a period of denial. Denial because they were so shocked by it. They're so concerned about these things to the point where they simply ignored it. They pretended like it wasn't true. They pretended like it didn't exist. And we still see that in a lot of places in the world today, especially following the election of President Donald Trump. And this stage, it leads on to another stage of anger specifically. We tend to focus the blame on climate change and any other global issues on one or two parties. We can yet again use the example of climate change, for example. President Donald Trump tweeted a few years back that climate change was manufactured by China in order to make US manufacturing more competitive. Although how stupid that might sound to a lot of people who actually understand climate change, this is something that's very concerning for us to see, especially since Donald Trump is the leader of the free world. And following this anger stage, we lead to a stage of bargaining. We try to reconcile with ourselves. We try to make ourselves more comfortable with this uncomfortable reality. We tend to think that these statistics aren't something that are very serious. These statistics are far outblown. We tend to think that these things aren't real at all, and we're just pushing them aside. And this eventually leads to a stage of depression. Now, it might not seem like your traditional depression that you might have when it comes to grief, but this phase of depression is when we continuously just stop advocating for this change. This depression is when we try to make choices completely unbeknownst to our goals. It's when we try to buy products that aren't efficient. It's when we try to buy products that aren't sustainable. This depression is happening so much at such a rapid pace, with so many consumers choosing to buy products that aren't sustainable for the environment at all. And this causes a significant problem. So, as the market rises, another trend starts, and it's a trend of testing. We try to test new inventions, new innovations, new engineering in order to help make certain issues go away. We can see this with Elon Musk, with this Tesla set of vehicles. We can see this with all of the innovation that is currently happening in our world today in order to help combat climate change, as well as other global issues today. And of course, this stage takes a lot of time. And when it comes to global issues, there isn't a lot of time to solve this because it takes time for your impacts to actually impact people. And unfortunately, after this stage, we go to a stage of acceptance. This is a very dangerous stage. When we accept global issues, when we accept climate change, this sets an unprecedented danger for us. It means that we're setting the new status quo. It means we're setting a new standard, saying that climate change and all these different things are okay. It means we're setting a standard that a 3-year-old boy dying on the Mediterranean shores is okay to you. Does that seem okay to you? So I asked this question, why? Again, why? Why do we continue on the cycle? Why do we care about these global issues? And these things are so interconnected to me. I think the main reason why is human apathy. We tend to not care about certain things. We tend to think that we're not able to actually change this world. We look at all of politicians, we look at all of these corporations and global leaders, and we think to ourselves, there's no way I can actually make this world change. There's no way where I can actually have an idea, sprout it, and grow a seed of thought, innovation, and engineering. There's no way we can do that, right? Well, the truth is far from the obvious. It's up to you to actually make that change. You are the next generation. You are voters. You can vote with your money. You can vote politically. And you can make sure that your ideas get heard. Because at the end of the day, it's also your future. These things have become so important to me and who I am. And I believe that youth must take action now. It's not the youth that should take action, but it's also the adults. I focus so much on youth because youth is what will build up the next generation. Today, youth already have so much on their shoulders when it comes to global issues. Youth have so much because eventually they will be the ones who will lead both today and tomorrow. Global issues such as gender inequality, such as climate change, such as immigration and conflict across the world. These things are piling up on every single one of your shoulders, even if you're just a child. Because eventually you will grow up and these issues are something that you have to deal with yourself as well. This has become such a challenge for me to see, especially since not a lot of people actually are prepared to handle these issues. For example, I still remember this one day. I was walking by my school hallway in Burnaby, and I saw basically every single person there lined up on their phones scrolling through Instagram. Now, I can't really blame them that much because I literally just scrolled Instagram while I was waiting right there, but this sets an unprecedented thing. People aren't aware of these issues. Youth aren't aware of these issues, and that's what is so crucial in our world today. Youth must understand these issues in order to help solve them tomorrow. As much of a head start they can get, they can make a better change in their community. I took this into my own hands because I felt that I needed to do more for my community. I need to do more to make sure that my children and our children can live a better tomorrow. I started an initiative called the Young Humanitarians. It's an initiative that's dedicated to raising funds and awareness for the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. The UN SDGs are a set of 17 goals developed by the United Nations in 2015 to help combat some of the world's most challenging humanitarian issues today. So far, we've proven success, but only through this one method: by youth, for youth. Oftentimes, I feel like teenagers get sick and tired of adults simply yelling at them about all these different things. And for us, we make sure that our messages are dedicated for youth and it's made by youth. That way, they understand it. For example, our campaigns online and both in school have proven to be very successful. And today, I'm proud to announce that our Young Humanitarians Initiative is now the biggest by youth organization in British Columbia, with over 8 branches at different schools from Little Flower Academy to New West Secondary School. The Young Humanitarians means a lot to me. And the Young Humanitarians focuses on issues that matter to youth today. But it's not only about the Young Humanitarians, it's also about so much in the world today. We need to teach youth to stand up and fight for what they believe in. We need to teach youth that it's okay to stand up, that's okay to voice your opinions so that our children can all live a better future. I'm sure that you want your children to live a good future, and I'm sure that we all do. We must follow a common goal together, and we must work hard together to ensure that these issues are solved. I had a dream that I will be able to live until the day where some of these global issues wouldn't exist. I know from the things that might seem from the news, that day might not happen in my lifetime. But I want to make sure that day happens in our children's lifetime. I want to make sure that day happens so that everyone can enjoy a world free from some of the global issues that plagued our society for so long. These global issues are very important, and like I said, it's very important to understand them. We live in a bubble around us, especially when it comes to our youth. We're completely oblivious to all the issues happening. But we must pop that bubble. We must understand these issues. We must fight for these issues, and we must stand up and say it's okay to fight for these. Because at the end of the day, it's our world. It's the youth's world. It's my world and it's your world. And we must care for this world. And we must stand up for this world as well. And as Nelson Mandela once said, you're never too young to change the world. Thank you.